Welcome. My name's Tamara Grand. I'm a mixed media artist and abstract painter. I live in beautiful Port Moody, British Columbia, where I am lucky enough to have a home studio that I can spend time in every single day. I didn't always want to be an artist. Long before I ever picked up a paintbrush, I was a research scientist. And I like to think that my experience conducting experiments and collecting data spills over into how I treat my studio practice. I'm always looking for surprises. I'm willing to experiment with materials and methods, and I never really have an expectation of how things are going to turn out. I'm largely self-taught, which means everything I've learned has been the hard way. I've taken lots of online courses. I've worked with a number of other artists and art mentors, but most of what I've discovered in finding my own voice and style has just come from putting in lots and lots of time with the brush. This channel is for you if you're an artist who likes to follow along with what other artists are doing, or if you're an art lover who's curious about what happens in an artist studio on a day-to-day basis. This is my studio diary. I'll be sharing new videos every 2 weeks or so for as long as I can keep up or until you get tired of watching. I'm keeping the format loose on purpose. Real studio life isn't a straight line from the idea to the process to the finished painting. If you're looking for something tight and polished, this might not be it. But if you're here for the mess, welcome. I'm happy to have you. What do you say we get into it? I've recently started working on two 60 by 48-inch canvases. These are the largest paintings I've ever attempted. I started them the same way I start my smaller works. What's familiar is the best way to go, right? Using some water-soluble materials to create some lines, random lines and shapes, just attaching each corner of the canvas to the others. Now, usually I don't limit my palette when I'm painting, but I decided because these pieces were so big, I wanted to control the color story just a bit more. So I chose a fairly limited palette with blue and green and yellow, white and parchment to help desaturate and make some neutrals before I started. I went in first with my darks and used those lines as sort of a guideline to fill in some interesting shapes, and then painted fairly intuitively, as I always do, deciding when I needed to go lighter, when I needed to go darker, when it was time to add a pop of zing with that lovely green gold that's so transparent. Once I'd covered the canvas, I went back and started layering colors over top, shapes over top of other shapes, and scraping back in, as is my usual way, to reveal texture and bits of color and line work below. This is where the piece finished off at the end of the week, and I decided to give it a rest and put it in the corner, facing into the corner while I got to work on the second one, so it wouldn't influence me too much. I decided that second painting needed to be a companion or a sibling with the same palette, but maybe a slightly different color story. So instead of having so much blue and so much dark blue in the background, I started with small shapes and decided to build the story of this painting around the yellows and the ochres and the light greens. So you see, it's a lot of work, standing up, kneeling down, getting in close, using a fine brush with some water on it to let those water-soluble charcoal marks sort of blend into the paint. There was a beautiful flow to this piece. I really love that ribbony shape that runs from the bottom left up to kind of the mid-central part. And I finished up on the floor with this piece after about 6 hours of work. So here are the two pieces side by side. The first one on the right, you can tell it has more layer, it has more depth, it has a more completed look, even though I don't think it's quite finished. The one on the left, the newer one, it's really only got that first layer of paint down on the canvas. I love the drips, but I need to bury them a bit, and we need to come back and do a little bit more work next week. So there you have it, Studio Diary number 1. I'm going to leave you with these two large canvases in this current state. And next time I check in, I know I'll have moved them on a little bit further, and there may even be a third companion piece to share with you as well. If you enjoyed this video, I really would love it if you'd like, share, and hit that subscribe button. It helps small channels like me really find their footing on YouTube. All right, catch you in the next video.